The wreckage field. The stars hold secrets. The void between stars was never truly empty, but what Commander Zextar saw through the viewport of his scout ship made his blood run cold. Twisted metal drifted in the darkness like broken bones. Hundreds of ships floated dead in space, their hulls torn open and their lights forever extinguished. By the ancient spirits, whispered his navigation officer, Kessera. Her 4 arms trembled as she worked the controls. These are our ships, Commander. Keltharian vessels. Zextar's scaled skin shifted from blue to deep purple, a sign of distress among his people. The wreckage field stretched for thousands of kilometers in every direction. Every piece of debris told the same story: total destruction. These weren't just any ships either. The hull markings showed they belonged to the 47th Exploration Fleet, the pride of the Keltharian Navy. "Run a full scan," Zextar ordered. His voice stayed calm, but inside his heart's hammered. "I want to know what happened here." The scanner operator, a young Keltharian named Televin, worked frantically at his station. "Sir, I'm reading remnants of over 300 vessels. Dreadnoughts, cruisers, fighters, support ships. The entire 47th Fleet is here. Any survivors?" "Scanning now." Telvin's eyes widened. "Wait, I'm getting a faint life sign. One ship, barely holding together. It's the exploration vessel Deep Seeker." A dying voice. "The rescue took 2 hours. The Deep Seeker was more wreckage than ship. Its hull cracked like an eggshell." Emergency life support flickered weakly in the darkness. When Zextar's team broke through the sealed bridge, they found only one survivor. Captain Morthak lay dying in his command chair, green blood seeping from dozens of wounds. His breathing was shallow, and his eyes had the cloudy look of someone who had seen too much. "Commander," Morthak wheezed as Zextar leaned close. "Thank the void you found me." "What happened here, Captain? Where is the 47th Fleet?" Morthak's laugh turned into a cough that sprayed blood. "Gone. All gone. We found something out there in the deep dark. Something that should have stayed buried." "Found what?" "A ghost. A human ghost with teeth." Zextar felt his skin ripple with confusion. "Humans, Captain. The human homeworld was destroyed 2 centuries ago. There are no more humans." "That's what we thought too." Morthak gripped Zextar's arm with surprising strength. "We were exploring the neutral void, mapping new trade routes. Standard mission. Then our sensors picked up something impossible. The memory of terror." Morthak's voice grew stronger as he remembered, as if the terror gave him energy. "It was massive, Commander. Bigger than our largest dreadnought, but ancient. The hull design was human, but unlike anything in our databases. No lights, no energy signature, no life signs, just floating there like a tomb." "You investigated." Admiral Krentos ordered a full survey. "We thought it was a derelict, maybe valuable salvage. We were fools." Morthak's eyes focused on something far away. "The moment our probe touched the hull, everything changed." Zextar leaned closer. "Changed how?" "The ship woke up. The impossible ship." Morthak continued his story, his voice growing weaker with each word. "First, it was just lights. Dim at first, then brighter. The hull began to glow with some kind of energy we'd never seen before. Our scientists were excited. They said it was proof that human technology was more advanced than we thought." "What happened next?" "It moved. Not with engines, Commander. No thrusters, no energy trails. It just moved, like it was swimming through space itself." Admiral Krentos ordered the fleet to defensive positions, but it was too late. Zextar's skin had turned deep purple now. The ship attacked. Not at first. It sent a message. In perfect Keltharian, it said, "You should not have come here. But since you have, you will serve as a warning to others." The dying captain paused, his breathing labored. Then it began to sing. Sing. A sound that came through our comm systems, through our hull, through our very bones. Not music, Commander. Something else. Our weapons wouldn't fire. Our engines wouldn't respond. One by one, our ships just stopped. The slaughter begins. Morthak's voice became a whisper. The human vessel didn't use weapons like ours. No energy beams, no missiles. Instead, it released something into space. Thousands of small objects, each no bigger than a fighter. They moved like living things, swimming through the void. What were they? We never found out. They attached themselves to our ships and began to change them. Metal twisted, systems failed, crews died. Not from explosion or fire, but from fear. Pure, overwhelming terror that stopped their hearts. Zextar felt cold despite his ship's warmth. How did you survive? The Deep Seeker was on the edge of the formation. When I saw what was happening, I ordered all power to shields and engines. We ran, Commander. We ran like cowards while our brothers and sisters died. You did what you had to do. Morthak shook his head weakly. As we fled, I looked back. The human ship had grown brighter, and I swear I could see a figure standing at its bridge. A human woman, tall and proud, watching our fleet die. She looked right at me through all that distance and darkness. Then she spoke again. What did she say? Tell them I still remember. Tell them I still guard. Tell them that some promises are kept even in death. The warning. Captain Morthak died 20 minutes later, but not before giving Zextar one final piece of information. The human ship had a name, painted in faded letters along its hull. The Eternal Watch. Zextar immediately sent a priority message to Keltharian High Command. Within hours, every military leader in the Empire had read his report. The response was swift and predictable. Panic. Fleet Admiral Vexandra called an emergency council meeting. The great chamber of the High Command buzzed with worried voices as the Empire's finest military minds gathered. This cannot be real, declared General Morkes, his battle scars pale against his dark skin. Humans have been extinct for 200 years. We made sure of that. The evidence suggests otherwise. Admiral Vexandra replied coldly. Commander Zextar's report is detailed, and his reputation is spotless. Something destroyed the 47th Fleet, and according to the survivor, it was a human vessel. Ancient fears. Science Minister Felnera stood up, her ancient frame trembling. If this is true, we may be facing something far worse than we imagined. The humans were always dangerous, but a ship that has survived alone for 2 centuries. What has it become in all that time? Surely one ship, no matter how advanced, cannot threaten the entire Keltharian Empire, suggested Admiral Colterin. Felnera's laugh was bitter. You underestimate human determination, Admiral. They were the only species that ever truly frightened us. Even when we destroyed their world, even when we scattered their colonies, they never truly surrendered. And now one of their guardians has awakened. Guardian? Admiral Vexandra asked. Human military philosophy was different from ours. They believed in eternal vigilance, in protecting their people even beyond death. Their final ships were not just weapons of war, but symbols of that promise. The decision. The debate continued for hours, but in the end, the decision was clear. The Eternal Watch posed a threat to Keltharian space and could not be ignored. A research fleet would be assembled, the finest scientists and warriors the Empire could muster. Our mission is simple, Admiral Vexandra announced. Find this ghost ship, study it, and if necessary, destroy it before it can threaten our worlds. But even as she spoke, she wondered if they were making a terrible mistake. The humans had been gone for 2 centuries, but their legacy lived on in the stars. And somewhere in the darkness, a guardian waited with patience that only the dead could possess. The hunt begins. As the meeting ended and the leaders dispersed to prepare their forces, none of them noticed the small probe that had been listening from outside their chamber. Its sensors recorded every word, every plan, every detail of their preparation. Deep in space, aboard the Eternal Watch, those recordings played on screens that had not lit up in decades. In the ship's central core, something stirred. Ancient systems came online. Weapons that had slept for centuries began to hum with power. The Keltharians were coming, just as she had known they would. They had destroyed her world, scattered her people, and thought themselves safe from human vengeance. But they had forgotten one simple truth about humanity. They never gave up, and they never forgot. Captain Sarah Chen had made a promise 200 years ago. She had sworn to protect humanity's memory and guard against those who would destroy them. Death had not released her from that oath. If anything, it had made her stronger. The hunt was beginning, but the Keltharians had made one critical mistake. They thought they were the hunters. In truth, they had always been the prey. The Guardian stirs. The research fleet arrives. 3 weeks after the emergency council meeting, the Keltharian research fleet emerged from hyperspace at the edge of the neutral void. Admiral Vexandra commanded from the bridge of the heavy cruiser Starpiercer, surrounded by 6 escort vessels and the most advanced sensor equipment the Empire possessed. "Sensor sweep complete, Admiral," reported Science Officer Velterra. "We're detecting the wreckage field exactly where Commander Zextar reported it. But there's something else. Can you decode it?" "Working on it now." Rentak's fingers flew over his controls. "It appears to be a countdown, Admiral." "But counting down to what?" Before the Admiral could respond, every screen on the bridge flickered. The lights dimmed for a moment, then returned to normal. But now, they weren't alone on the bridge anymore. A figure materialized in the center of the command deck. It was clearly human, tall and elegant, wearing what appeared to be an ancient military uniform. But the figure was translucent, like a hologram, and her eyes glowed with an inner light that made the Keltharians step back in fear. "Greetings," the figure said in perfect Keltharian. Her voice was calm, almost gentle, but it carried the weight of centuries. "I am Captain Sarah Chen of the Terran Defense Force. You have entered my domain." The Guardian reveals herself. Admiral Vexandra forced herself to stand straight despite her fear. "I am Admiral Vexandra of the Keltharian Imperial Navy. You destroy our ships, our people." Captain Chen's expression didn't change. "Your people destroyed mine first. Your ships invaded my territory. They threatened the memory of my world. I defended it as I swore I would. Your world is gone, human. Earth was destroyed 2 centuries ago. Your people are extinct. What are you defending?" For the first time, something flickered across Chen's face. Pain, perhaps, or rage carefully controlled. "I am defending the promise I made. The promise that humanity would never be forgotten, and that those who destroyed us would never be safe." Science Officer Velterra stepped forward, her scientific curiosity overcoming her fear. "How are you still alive?" "Our records show that no human survived the destruction of Earth." Chen turned to look at her, and Velterra gasped. The human's eyes were not just glowing, they were filled with stars. Tiny points of light swirled in the darkness, like galaxies being born and dying in an endless cycle. "I am not alive," Chen said simply. "I have not been alive for 200 years. But I am not dead either. I am something else. Something between life and death, between flesh and machine, between hope and vengeance. The story of the last Guardian." Chen gestured, and the air around them shimmered. Suddenly, the Keltharians were no longer on their bridge, but standing in what appeared to be a vast chamber filled with memories made visible. Images of Earth floated around them like ghosts, showing a blue-green world full of life and wonder. "This was my home," Chen said, her voice echoing strangely in the memory space. 7 billion souls lived here. Artists and warriors, scientists and dreamers, children and elders. Your empire decided they were all expendable in your quest for expansion. The images change, showing massive Keltharian fleets surrounding Earth. Orbital bombardments turned cities to glass. The oceans boiled away. The atmosphere burned. But we humans had one advantage you never understood, Chen continued. We never gave up. Even in our final moments, we planned for revenge. New images appeared, showing secret laboratories deep beneath Earth's surface. Human scientists worked frantically on projects labeled Operation Eternal Watch and Project Guardian. We developed technology that could transfer a human consciousness into a starship, Chen explained. Not just control the ship, but become the ship. The volunteer would die, but their mind would live on as the vessel itself. Admiral Vexandra watched in horror as the images showed Chen herself, younger and still flesh and blood, lying on a medical table surrounded by strange machinery. Why would you volunteer for such a thing? Because someone had to remember. Someone had to carry on humanity's promise to never surrender. And someone had to make sure that those who destroyed us paid the price. The transformation. The memory space shifted again, showing the final days of Earth. As the planet burned, the Eternal Watch launched from a hidden shipyard in the asteroid belt. But something had gone wrong with the consciousness transfer process. I was supposed to retain my humanity, Chen said, her voice growing distant. I was supposed to remember love and compassion and hope. But 200 years of isolation in the void changed me. The boundary between Sarah Chen and the Eternal Watch dissolved. The images showed the ship drifting through space, growing stranger with each passing year. Its hull began to change, becoming more organic, more alive. Strange energies surrounded it as it absorbed cosmic radiation and transformed it into power. I became something new, Chen continued. Not human, not machine, but something that could survive in the void between stars. Something that could wait for centuries for the right moment to fulfill my promise. Science Officer Velterra was recording everything, her scientific mind racing. The consciousness transfer created a new form of life. Part digital, part organic, part energy. You're not just a ship with a human mind. You're an entirely new species. Chen smiled, and it was beautiful and terrible at the same time. I am the first and last of my kind. The final guardian of a dead race, carrying the memories of an entire world. The ancient enemy returns. Suddenly, the memory space vanished, and the Keltharians found themselves back on their bridge. But now alarms were blaring throughout their ships. "Admiral," shouted the sensor operator. Multiple contacts emerging from hyperspace. Unknown configuration, but massive. On the main screen, the stars began to tear apart as something enormous forced its way into normal space. Ships emerged from the hyperspace rifts, each one the size of a small moon. Their hulls were black and twisted, covered in symbols that hurt to look at. "Vorthan Empire," Chen said, her voice now carrying a note of cold satisfaction. "The true enemy has arrived." Admiral Vexandra stared in shock. The Vorthans, but they were destroyed centuries ago. "No," Chen replied. "They were banished to the dark spaces between galaxies. But they have returned, and they hunger for worlds to consume. They destroy humanity because we were the only ones who could stop them. Now they come for you." The Vorthan fleet numbered in the hundreds, each ship radiating an aura of wrongness that made reality itself seem to bend and twist around them. These were not just invaders, but devourers of life itself. The choice. Chen's holographic form flickered and began to change. Her human appearance fell away like a mask, revealing something that was part machine, part energy, part living starlight. She was beautiful and alien and completely inhuman. "You have a choice, Admiral Vexandra," Chen said. "You can flee and leave this galaxy to the Vorthans, or you can stand with me and fight for something greater than either of our species. Why would you help us? We destroyed your world." "Because," Chen replied, "hatred is not enough to fuel eternity. I have spent 2 centuries learning that lesson. The Vorthans are the true enemy of all life. They destroy humanity not for territory or resources, but for the pure joy of watching worlds die." Admiral Vexandra looked at her fleet, then at the approaching Vorthan armada. then at the impossible human guardian who had become something beyond death itself. "What do you propose?" "The alliance." Chen's form solidified again, becoming more human-like, but retaining hints of her transformed nature. "I propose we make a new promise. Not for revenge, but for protection. Your people and mine were enemies, but we both love life itself. The Vorthans love only destruction." She gestured toward the Eternal Watch, which was beginning to glow brighter as its ancient weapons came online. "I have had 2 centuries to prepare for this battle. My ship has weapons that exist in 17 different dimensions simultaneously. I can unmake matter at the quantum level. I can turn space itself into a weapon. But you're just one ship." Chen smiled, and for a moment she looked almost human again. "Admiral, I am not just one ship. I am the memory of an entire species. I carry the knowledge of 7 billion souls, the dreams of countless generations, the promise of what humanity could have become." The Vorthan fleet was getting closer, their twisted ships already beginning to affect local space-time. Stars flickered and went out as the Devourers approached. "Stand with me," Chen said. "Let us show these destroyers what it means to face the guardians of life itself." Admiral Vexandra made her decision. "All ships, form up on the Eternal Watch. Prepare for battle." As the 2 fleets merged into a single formation, Chen's consciousness touched each Keltharian mind briefly. For just a moment, they saw through her eyes, felt the weight of 2 centuries of solitude, understood the price of becoming something beyond mortal existence. "Thank you," she whispered across all their minds, "for giving me the chance to remember what I was fighting for." The final battle for the galaxy was about to begin, and for the first time in 200 years, Sarah Chen was not alone.